All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. We are on a Zoom call for the Economic Revitalization Committee meeting. We have 4 items on the agenda today, and we will get right into it with item number 1, discussion of ARPA Small Business Program. We have our ARPA consultant here today, Jack Regan from UHY. He is the managing director of that company. This is something that we've talked about on council now for a little while, and it is, I think, vitally important to the success of the economic revitalization of the community that we have this program in place as soon as possible for small businesses to take advantage of it. One thing that we've kicked around is a loan program, an application program, and a few other ideas, but I just wanted to see if the dialogue has been started, how far that has gotten along, and so on. So, Mr. Regan, if you could just elaborate a little bit on some of that for us.
Sure. Again, thank you for letting me join this morning. We've seen similar programs at all of our clients across the country. Couple of characteristics that they all share or are, you have a ceiling amount of the benefit that is available to the small businesses. You set an application period that will run anywhere from 30 to 90 days. As the applications come in, and I'll talk about the application criteria here in a sec, as the applications come in, I counsel my clients to wait to officially approve or reject any of the applications that come in until after the entire application period has run. What we found under CARES Act and other similar programs is that there tends to be a race to the front of the queue so that people get their money before the money in the program runs out. And that, disadvantages, business. The application period runs its course. In terms of the applications themselves, it's really up to the community and to leadership to set up the application criteria. A couple of common criteria that we've seen are, businesses will have to have been in existence for a certain number of years. That's one thing. They will have to have been open, during the period as well, or if they closed, they'll have to demonstrate how they tried to get other federal assistance programs, whether they're paycheck protection or economic injury disaster loans. And then really the rest are just up to, again, leadership. I've seen some where they've targeted dollar sales, meaning, businesses can't exceed a certain dollar amount in revenues, or size of employees, you can't be greater than a certain size. I've also seen criteria where certain types of businesses are excluded as well. The one I traditionally use, as callous as it sounds, is strip clubs, things like that. People or liquor stores, folks have shied away from supporting. You mentioned, Eric, loans. The one thing that there's a very, technical piece of ARPA where if you run a loan program and the loan period extends beyond December 31st, 2026, there's I think the technical term for it's a funky calculation that we have to do to discount that loan back to present value. And the difference between the present value of the loan and the face value of the loan cannot be charged to ARPA. It has to come out of local funds. So what we've seen is these are short-term loan programs, or I've seen them set up as forgivable loan programs where there's a short amortization period there's a short payment period, a longer loan amortization period, and the loan is forgiven by 12/31/26, so that you get out of this whole having to show up with local dollars to fund this program. You have considerable flexibility in doing this. The other thing that I've seen out there is some clients of ours have asked us to help administer the program. Others have hired, a chamber of commerce or some other nonprofit organization to administer the program. So let's say you set up a $1 million small business program. That nonprofit that runs it may get a $50,000 handling fee, and there's $950,000 that's available for loan to or grant to the small businesses. We're fine either way with how you do that.
Just a quick curiosity on that last point.
Yep.
Would there be an additional charge from UHY if we would have you administer that on top of what we're already paying?
No, that's included as part of what's in there. And we have an application portal that we can set up. We actually just launched one the other day. If you're curious to see what something like that would look like, it's for nonprofit organizations with Upper Darby Township, Pennsylvania. If you go out to their website, you'll see in the latest news, there's a news blast on the application portal being open, and you can click on that and see how a portal would operate. We will do a webinar when you launch that program, so that we make the businesses aware of how the program will work, what the portal looks like, and then we'll be available for any questions they may have as they're preparing their application.
And if I may, Jack and I spoke about this as well, and they would also be able to work with the companies and give recommendations to the administration and city council of those businesses that they think would have the capacity to handle these federal dollars, and those that wouldn't. So Jack and his team would be able to do some of that upfront work as far as filtering through the various businesses and then giving us a recommendation on who they think would qualify and be able to meet all the various guidelines around federal grant dollars.
And Mr. Mayor, one thing I should have clarified as well: we don't approve any applications. Right. Oh, right. That is purely a governmental function. We make recommendations on things, but I've seen it where the city personnel will review them after we've reviewed them and make recommendation to the council to approve. We've seen separate committees of the council set up to review the applications as well. We've even seen some localities have had outside citizens who've been appointed to this board specifically to review as well. So there's a lot of flexibility on how you can set that up.
Right. I was just meaning you do some of the upfront work, and as far as with your experience and being able to make those experienced recommendations, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I just make it I make it very clear in public. Right. We ain't approving anything.
Right. Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Yeah. So, but yep. That's all right.
I just hopped onto Upper Darby's website here, and it's pretty straightforward. The way that portal looks, the application to at least get the preliminary information from a potential for a potential business that would take advantage of the program. So I appreciate that. Mr. Pelizzi, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Yeah, there is. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate the information. I'm curious, in your experience and your history in dealing with administering, or at least providing counsel in which to help administer these ARPA funds, with all of the data that you have been able to collect, and when I say you, I mean the over-encompassing form of the word, have you been able to identify any kind of trends within your data that show what businesses might be more apt or more likely to go after such funding, what businesses or industries might have a higher success rate. Those kinds of aspects of.
No, I really haven't seen anything like that. Most of these small business loan programs that we've seen, though, they've been pretty narrowly tailored. I think the more successful ones that have been transformative to the community have been ones that have been more capital in nature, where it's a loan program or a grant program to fund new equipment or to fund an expansion. We saw a lot of outdoor dining, things like that. We've seen a lot of businesses that have needed to renovate their HVAC systems for ventilation and such. Tailoring those programs so that it's one-time money and it's not an operating subsidy to prop up a otherwise struggling business, which there are many other government programs for. A lot of these programs have tailored the ARPA, or I call them one shots. They're sort of one shot deals, stuff that the businesses have always wanted to try and do, have just never been able to scratch together the capital to do it. And here it is. In that way, it's a more sustainable practice versus, providing operating funds that might get somebody another 6 months down the road and not help fix their underlying issues affecting government or the business.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Yep. And, another thing on that, Vincent, that's been a very interesting program as well. Give an example of one in Bristol, Connecticut. If you wanted to try and amplify these funds, Bristol has a program similar to what you're talking about, where they're providing businesses up to $60,000 for capital expansion, but it's a dollar for dollar match. So the business has to show up with a buck in order to get a buck from the government. And that way, it is putting some skin in the game from the business as well. So I wanted you've got flexibility to be able to do a matching program if you wanted to do that.
Dollar for dollar match at least creates some accountability as far as exactly like you said, them having skin in the game as opposed to just going off willy-nilly and wasting the taxpayers' hard-earned money.
Yep. And I can provide the mayor, and he can distribute to the committee, the program guidelines for that one in Bristol, if you'd be interested in seeing what something like that would look like.
I would. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Biter, I have nothing more to inquire about at this time.
All right. Nor do I. I will just ask real quick. I see Councilwoman Katz is here as well. I didn't know if she had anything that she'd like to add.
No, no, I have nothing right now. Thank you, Eric.
Right. Absolutely. Seeing that there's nothing else on this topic, Mr. Regan, I appreciate you being here this morning. You've answered some good questions. You've also raised some good points. I would appreciate it if you're able to share that information with the mayor. The Bristol model is something that I am pretty interested in knowing more about. I think it would be a good use of the remaining funds that we have. And as the point that Mr. Polizzi made, it brings some skin to the game, if you will, for other individuals. So I like that. And also I like to see the viability of projects a little bit more so when that happens. So thank you for raising that point.
Yep.
We will move on then to the second
Thank you very
item.
much. Bye, guys.
Thank you as well. Move on to the second item on our agenda today. Item number 2 is a transfer ordinance number 2 for Project Edge. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, good morning, Chairman Biter, members of the ERC committee. What you have before you is the first reading of an ordinance for transfer for $125,000 in support of Project Edge. It's a Prismian group, which is going to actually on this week's council agenda is the demo, and then they're also planning a rather large expansion at the site, at the facility. And so obviously it's good, in our opinion, good news for Williamsport as they look to expand here in the city. And so this would be, we have about 1.2 or 1.3 million allocated to the RDA. So we're the redevelopment authority take 125,000. That would still leave over $1 million in the ARPA bucket that's allocated to the redevelopment authority. And so that's where this transfer is coming from in support of this project. Of course, we have Jason Fink and folks here to discuss the project if you have questions related specifically to that demo and or expansion. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you as well. You answered my number one question, is where the funding source was going to come from for that. So I appreciate knowing that. Being the RDA, that's good use of that particular bucket of money as well. The project itself, I don't really have any direct questions about. I don't know if Mr. Pelizzi has any that he'd like to ask.
No, I have no questions at this time. I believe that this is a good project to look at investing our these funds into. These are the kinds of projects that bring more jobs here to our city. These are the kinds of projects that create, sustaining household wages. So these are the kind of projects, at least I believe, that we should be looking to try and fund more of these types of projects, especially now in light of, we know there's probably quite a few people that are going to be without work, that are going to be looking for good quality paying jobs here shortly. So I think that these are good projects. Thank you.
And anything else that any members of council would like to add? Seeing and
nothing,
hearing
Eric.
nothing.
I have
Thank
nothing,
you, Bonnie.
Eric.
I appreciate that. Mr. Fink, thank you for joining us. If there's anything you'd like to add, you're certainly welcome to, but it doesn't really seem like there's too much of a need.
I've always learned less is better. Thank you.
That's right. You're welcome. All right. Thank you very much for that, Mayor. Appreciate you bringing that forward to us.
Thank you.
Item number 3 on our agenda today is a resolution authorizing a contract for professional consulting services with McKissick Architecture. Mr. Mimi.
Good morning. With me also today from McKissick is I believe Vern McKissick and Tina Gibble to answer any technical questions that the council may have. We're bringing forward a resolution to enter into a contract with McKissick to revamp the HARB ordinance. It's about 40 years old, I believe, at least, and it hasn't really been touched in that period of time. We were able to obtain for the city a $10,000 grant from the State Historic and Museum Commission, and we still need to determine where the $2,000 match will be coming from for that grant. This is a project that is driven or through City Council. They choose the members of the board, et cetera, et cetera. They created the HARB ordinance, and if possible, legislative contingency might be an area that we might be able to get the remaining $2,000 from. I'll try to answer any questions. It's about a year-long contract till we get everything done until we bring back to council a new revised HARB ordinance.
All right. I appreciate that. I personally don't have any questions for it. I think it's always a good practice to look at things on a more frequent basis. So that way we can adjust and pivot however is necessary as things change in our world. 40 years is a very long time to leave something like that set as things begin to change in the world as rapidly as they do. So, Mr. Pelizzi, was there anything that you'd like to add?
No, I guess I would just have a couple of quick questions just for the people of the city so they can understand why we're looking to do this a little bit more. So the purpose of this is pretty much to streamline the permitting process and review process for the historic district. Is that correct?
It would be my intention that that's what we're going to do, but until we start delving into it and looking at how we can best do that, I can't commit to that. But I'll if Tina can answer a little bit more, she may be able to give us more of a direction that their team is looking to go forward with.
Sure, yeah. I think we really need to sit down with entities from the city and the board to understand how the process is actually working and see what we can find for roadblocks to see if streamlining is an option. I understand materials are available on the website to the community, and I understand electronic versions of certificates of appropriateness and everything. Materials like that are handled electronically, which is more efficient than you might have had in the past. So those are strategies that have been implemented, and we would want to follow similar ideas to streamline the process. And until we sit down with the group, we'll have that opportunity then to find out what those opportunities are as far as streamlining. But yeah, I mean, historic preservation is a tool for economic revitalization. So we want to encourage the citizens to preserve that history and the unique look of Williamsport. So whatever we can do to help the city improve the process to make it more user-friendly, that's what we're striving to do.
I think that's a great idea. You know, we have such a great historic downtown, you know, and we look at Millionaires Row, and I think a lot of people would really like to get involved in the purchase and restoration of some of those buildings. However, because of costs, they may not be able to. Something else I'm curious about, do you foresee potentially within the scope of what you're looking to try and potentially create here is almost a portal? I would assume kind of a portal through the Harb area of the website that allows people to show everybody what grants may be available out there for historic properties, for restoration of some of these things. There's a lot of various grants that are available that in general, the public and even smaller municipal government bodies are not even aware of. And it really prohibits people from making the investment into restoring historic and older properties and older buildings. Is that something that you guys have experience with, or something that you foresee possibly being implemented?
I think that the portal is an excellent idea connected to the city, looking at ways of connecting, if you're not already, to the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission and their resources. I'll let Vern McKissick, he's also here on the line. I'll let him speak to our experience with different grant applications that we've pursued through our firm. Can we hear?
I believe Mr. McKissick is on mute.
Mute.
It's okay. I appreciate I appreciate the effort.
Sure.
I bring it up more as kind of just to make everybody that may be listening and watching aware that there are these opportunities out there, and I speak to you and your firm about it. Hopefully that we can, in an effort to streamline this entire process, kind of get things going with the restoration of our downtown properties and of our historic properties, to make sure that they're aware that there are these kind of projects out there.
Yeah. And opportunities for grants, like you said, through the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission. There are tax tax breaks for working in historic buildings. There are a plethora of avenues to go for grants, and yes, we can collect that list and try to look at that as an opportunity to put that on the website and educate the public as to the funding that's out there.
Trina, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I'm unfortunately I'm in a car driving into Raleigh, so I apologize with the phone connection. Yeah, what I might just add on to Trina's end of things is there is a lot of potential out there, and I think there's a real opportunity for educating through the Harbor Board. Particularly, people focus on historic districts, but one of the things that's out there is the potential. As a developer on one side and working for other clients and others, we've regularly been responsible for converting buildings into a National Registry status as a standalone, which accesses the 20% federal tax credit and also the 25% Pennsylvania tax credit as a potential. Right now, we're working in the city of Pittston on one of their old elementary schools. It's been empty for a number of years. We purchased an abandoned school in Chambersburg, we just got National Register, and we just now are working on the federal courthouse, soon to close in Harrisburg, as a historical registry project, which will have tax credits. So there's a lot of opportunities, whether it's somebody buying your city hall or an old school that may not be in a historic district, where I think you can make a portal and information huge as in terms of making an opportunity, because there's a fear of historic districts and there's a fear of harbor boards, which I think is unwarranted. One other thing just to mention in terms of background, Trina has been the chair for a number of years of the Harrisburg City Harbor Board, and just completed the rewrite of their ordinances and their and the design guidelines. So kind of been fresh in the trenches with exactly what you guys are looking to do. So. You still there?
All right. Yeah, we're all still
Yeah.
here. We're just making sure that everything was good on your end.
Yeah.
Appreciate knowing that. I was cruising through your website a little bit while everybody was talking. You mentioned about older schools, things like that. I see what you did in Hazleton area with their elementary and middle
Yep.
school. And it's fantastic. It looks like we're going to have a similar project coming online here in our community, kind of the north central part of the city, if you will. So it's good to see that you have experience in this with very specific types of buildings. So thank you for
and
that.
I think there's a huge resource there. That's and then beyond that, we've been tremendously successful even getting if you're dealing with a nonprofit or anything of that nature. We just were able to get about $400,000 in separate construction grants from PHMC for the Northumberland County Courthouse, which was then leveraged up to almost a $7 million redo of that 1865 structure. Community Theater in Everett, we just acquired $250,000 for them. Hazleton Historical Society, Millersburg. I mean, so we're very attuned to finding it, and I think if we can make people aware of what's out there, they may not be as afraid of these old buildings as they are. So hopefully we can help you with that.
That'd be wonderful. All right. If there's anything else that anybody would like to add, please let me know.
No, I'm very happy to hear the projects. I apologize, I had to turn my camera off there real quick, but I was very much listening. So I think this is going to be a great thing for the city and for the people that are looking to try and make Williamsport's historic area, revitalize it, invest in it. And it sounds like, it seems to me like we have the right people for the job here. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
Just one question, if I may ask members of council. Is it necessary for either Mr. McKissick or Ms. Gibble to be at the meeting on Thursday night? Do we need them there for the other council members?
I think it would be appropriate that at least one of them is present. They can fight that out amongst themselves as to who that's going to be. But I'm sure that there are going to be some other questions from other members of council.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the direction. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this forward to us, Skip.
I do have a question, Eric.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
For people that, especially, people that have purchased properties in the historic district, for some people, they're aware of some of the things they're permitted to do, but not aware of everything that they're permitted to do. But what happens is, and you've heard this from several people, that the cost factor comes into play. So if somebody purchases, say, a home in the historic district, is there, from what I understand, or I don't know whether I'm hearing this clearly or not, that there's funding may be possible for people that do purchase a historic home, or is that just for something bigger projects?
So typically, the historic tax credits for the federal government and state have to be an income-producing property.
They have to be what? I
So
didn't hear you.
Income-producing.
Oh, okay.
Whether they're a rental apartment building or an office building or restaurant or some other use. Can be multifamily residential. They don't typically permit, unless there's an extraordinary circumstance on a particular building, the granting of tax credits for redevelopment to an individual.
Okay.
But that's
Okay.
not an absolute not, but it's more difficult.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question.
Sure.
All right, we'll move on then to item number 4 on our agenda, which was any related items. Is there anything that anyone from council or the administration would like to add today?
I have nothing.
I'm not sure if I can bring up the stuff that Skip and Derek and I had discussed earlier last week about the creation of a possible landlords association. Would that be discussed here or elsewhere?
Mr. Mackey, if you would like to at least present that right now, I'm not sure.
Eric, I'm sorry, you cut out the last few words there.
Sorry, somebody was moving something around. I'm not sure how much discussion we'll get into that at the moment, but if you'd like to at least present it to us, so that way the idea is out there and we can be made aware of it, and the rest of council can discuss as far as where would be appropriate
Sure.
to direct this.
During a pickup of some old documents at City Hall, I came across a flyer that both the city of Williamsport and it looked like the county had attached that had labeled out some different information available to landlords as well as different assistance programs. So I was throwing the idea back and forth between Skip and Derek that possibly bringing that back into a viable program, and then we can bring in some of our stuff that we already have going in there. So if they're paying the MVP tax, that can be counted as their dues, and basically give information and programs available out to these landlords so that they can go ahead and make the city a better place as well.
Excellent. That's obviously something that we struggle with, making sure that property owners are reinvesting in those properties and they're not being used as the slumlords, if you will, things like that. So that way they get reinvested in, and we get quality tenants in there, and we get reinvestment in neighborhoods, which then in turn strengthens communities and then strengthens the city as a whole. So I appreciate you bringing this forward to us. It will be something that the rest of council will be very interested in seeing and understanding. And then I'm sure that we will be seeing this on a discussion, possibly in a future ERC meeting. So Mr. Mackey, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
All right, seeing nothing else, I appreciate everybody being here today. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you all tomorrow night at the council meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.